Hi, and welcome to the Nature and Wildlife Discovery Center. I'm Diana, and we're coming to you from our Raptor Center in Pueblo, Colorado. This handsome boy, of course, many of you are familiar with. This is Lurch. He is our resident turkey vulture, and he is excited today to answer some of your questions that have been posted on Facebook. We appreciate that, and also Messenger and a couple emails. So we were so excited to hear from you. Just a little bit about our organization. Of course, we are a nonprofit. The Nature and Wildlife Discovery Center was founded in 2018 out of two existing organizations, the Mountain Park Environmental Center and the Nature and Raptor Center of Pueblo. We got together and joined forces to create our new organization. We provide a lot of education to southeastern Colorado, as well as recreational opportunities and conservation practices. And we do that at our three campuses, the Mountain Park in Beulah, the River Campus here in Pueblo, and of course our Raptor Center. Well, Lurch is a very handsome fellow, and he is one of our resident raptors. And so I think, Lurch, should we just jump right in? Lurch is a little uneasy these days. His enclosure, since we are currently closed to visitors, we're doing some much needed updating of our enclosure. So Lurch is out of his enclosure and he's in a new place. So he might seem a little out of sorts today. That's just because he's in a new environment, and that makes him a little bit nervous, but hopefully he's up to his standards. So Lurch and I discussed some of these questions, but I'll definitely and he's given me lots of great answers, so I'm going to interpret for him today. He and I kind of have this little mental sync going on, so I'll help to the best ability. So Lurch, should we look at our first question? Okay, check it out. So our first question comes from Jacob. Thank you, Jacob, for submitting. He says, "Hey Lurch, how'd you end up at the Nature and Wildlife Discovery Center?" That's a great question. Thanks, Jacob, for asking. So Lurch can't tell us too much, but I do know that he has mentioned that he had an accident and he broke a bone in his wing, his humeral bone, and that bone unfortunately did not heal properly. Lurch actually started out life right on the west slope of Colorado, and there is where he had his accident, and a wildlife center on that side of the state took him in initially and cared for him. And because of the way his wing healed, he couldn't return to the wild. So he stayed at that center and became an educational bird. And that's what he still does today. That center, after 20 some years, had to close their doors, and Lurch needed to go to another facility. He had one stop at another facility for a couple of years, and then that center had to also place him on. So he eventually ended up with us, and he's been now with us for over 12 years. And he's a wonderful educational resident and just does a great job for us. So he's just a lovely little guy, right? Any other comments about that? He's happy to be here. And by the way, one of his favorite things is to tear apart paper airplanes. When Lurch first came here, he was very lonely. Vultures are social, and so he and I, we would spend a little bit of time in the evenings while I was doing my charting and things like that. I would come out and sit in his enclosure on the ground with him, and I noticed he loved paper, and so I started to make paper airplanes just on a whim one day, and he thought it was great fun. I don't know how much he was fond of chasing them, but boy, he sure did have a great time ripping them apart. So he's done very well. We don't do much with paper airplanes these days, but he does still like to hang out. So let's see, Lurch, what do we got going on here? Should we try another question? Which one you pick? Oh, you want that one? Okay. Lurch, this is from Karen. Thanks, Karen, for asking. Lurch, you're just so charming. I have to agree, Lurch, you are a charmer. Yes, you're. See, look at that. How could you not find this guy charming? He's adorable. And she says, what's your day like at the Raptor Center? Well, Lurch, usually in the morning, he wakes up and what we call a heraldic pose and sun himself. So he starts his day. He says, I start my day by sunning, and then perhaps looking around for some leftover treats from the night before that maybe Izzy or the hawks that share the enclosure with them might have left behind. So they definitely are on one of the things that I do. And then he says, after that, I kind of wait for my humans to arrive and watch them do their morning chores by my enclosure and say good morning to me. And then after that, they clean. Somebody comes in and changes my water. And they usually, most of them, leave their bucket, their cleaning bucket, unguarded because, yep, definitely. Yeah, oh, there he goes, shaking it out. That's something he does all day. That's called rousting, and that's relaxation for him. Anyhow, I like to go through their garbage bucket, and garbage for the Raptor Center is little tidbits of leftover food, and he's always happy to dump the bucket and go through it to find a little morsel of food. I know if I'm doing the enclosures in the morning, I'm very fond of Lurch, and he's usually the last cage I do, just so that my bucket has lots of good stuff for Lurch to find. And then the rest of the day, he says, oh, I hang out, I watch what the humans are doing, I sun myself, maybe take a nap in the afternoon, maybe make a run. If it's a hot day, I'll stand next to the misting system and cool myself. He's Lurch, we've noticed he's not a big fan of getting wet, but he will stand next to the misters and cool himself off, or maybe hop in the swimming pool and cool his feet and give himself a little bath. And then the afternoon, he gets very excited when it's feeding time. He usually, he says he greets us at the door to get his food, and then after he eats, maybe take another bath, and then relax and get ready for nighttime and his evening rest. So he's got quite of a peaceful day. These days, they're very peaceful because we don't have visitors, and actually visitor watching is one of Lurch's favorite things to do. He loves to greet people and show off for our public, so he hasn't had much chance to do that. So as a backup, we are trying to spend as much time with Lurch as we can, getting him out in the day just to hang out in the building with us, or fist him for a little bit in the sun because he loves to sun himself. So he's just a lovely little guy who does some great things. So that's his kind of typical day here at the center. And if it's in the winter time when he normally would be migrating south, he spends with us. His favorite thing is to actually walk down the hallway of the building and hiss at everybody. So it's just kind of fun. He likes to show off. Okay, so should we pick another question? Get another one? Oh, you want that one? Okay, all right. Oh, so this is from Steve. Thank you, Steve, for asking. Lurch, what's your favorite dead thing to eat? So, you know, I've never seen Lurch turn down anything dead to eat, animal-wise, but he does seem to really like rats, and he's very fond of rabbit. And one thing that I've really noticed he likes is if we give him a quail. He thinks that's fabulous to eat. And one thing we have noticed, yep, I know, Lurch, is his favorite part of all of those animals is actually the liver. That's the first thing that he eats. And I have to tell you, he is spoiled. We do cut open his food for him. And so we cut open the abdomen area, and every single time, the first thing Lurch reaches into that abdomen for is the liver. That is his favorite part. So he's not too particular about dead things. He'll eat fish, he'll eat rats and mice, but he does love liver. So he's always up for a piece of liver. Okay, so let's see what else. Okay, oh, this is from Mary. Thank you, Mary. Mary says, Lurch, what do you eat? You're so huge in the wild. I worry you might eat kitties and little doggies. Where do you winter or spend your summers? I see your buddies in our neighborhood in spring, May in particular, and in the fall, October, only for a stopover on your way. You're one of my favorites to look for. Well, thanks, Mary. Vultures are certainly fun. As I mentioned, they are migratory, so they are only in our part of North America in the warm weather months. So in the spring, they're coming up from Central and South America, and they're heading to points north, so they do travel through our area. So Mary, it's possible that the guys coming through are just simply a migratory flock heading north, and they're just using your neighborhood to rest as they're traveling through. And it may be several different groups of vultures. They are social, and they do travel in groups, family groups or social groups. And so they may just be visiting and using it as a stopover to rest. And then in the fall, the same thing. They're heading south for the winter, so they're just passing through and just, again, using that area. They learn, they know these spots, they use them year after year after year. Now, if it's a local group, they'll have a favorite roost tree in your neighborhood if they are using it as their hangout. And so if you'll look around in the evening, they're usually, if you have a group of them, in the summertime, roosting in your neighborhood, you'll see them all coming in and soaring and playing on the wind before dark as they come in from the night. So they do have it. Now, Lurch says you don't really need to be worried about your kitties and puppies and doggies. He only eats things that are deceased. Birds of prey, of course, for the most part, are predators. They have amazing tools for finding, catching, killing, and eating prey. However, turkey vultures, condors, black vultures, the vultures that live in North America really don't kill things very much. They don't have, like other birds of prey, the feet built for catching and killing things. So they are strictly scavengers, so you don't have to worry too much at all about your pets or anything being harmed by turkey vultures. They're really quite passive birds. They want nothing to do with living things for dinner, just already something dead. So they're lovely. Okay, you ready for the next one? He is so cute. I just can't. I love when he stares at me. It's just like, it's like he's like pounding these answers into my head. He's just so lovely. Okay. Oh, hey, here's a good one. Ready? Ross, thank you, Ross, says, hey, you Lurch, you seem to be the only raptor with no feathers on your head. Are the heads of most raptors the same general shape and profile of yours? Well, generally speaking, most birds of prey do have the same shaped head. It's very, very similar in most raptor species. In owls and hawks, their eyes are a little more forward facing than in turkey vultures. There's just a slight difference to the shape. But what's really weird about these guys is that they have basically a naked head or very, very tiny feathers on their face. And that's actually an adaptation or a specialized tool for helping them to stay clean and healthy. Vultures spend a lot of their days sticking their head into dead things. So you could just imagine the debris and the microbes that they would pick up on their feathers if they had beautiful feathered heads like other birds of prey. It would be difficult for them to keep those heads clean if they were full of beautiful feathers, and it could cause or put them at risk for their health with disease and things like that. So nature has adapted the vulture to have this specialized head so that if he does pick up debris, it's very easy for him to clean himself. All he has to do is sit in the sun for a while, let those debris bake off. The UV radiation from the sun would actually help him to kill some of the microbes that might be on his skin or feathers. And then all he has to do is use his claws to reach up and scratch his head. Are you going to do that for us right now? No? Okay. So scratch off the debris and shake it off and actually keep himself very, very clean. So that's a really great question. Thanks, Ross. That was a good one. Okay. Oh, so since we're on sight and smell, let's also pick up Teresa's question. And Teresa, thanks for asking. She says, why do you have big holes in your nose or your beak? Well, that's getting back to Ross's question, or another question about smelling and looking for their food. Different vultures have different strategies for finding things. Lurch's sight is very keen. He can pick up movement very far from where he's sitting, and that's one way that he would look for food. He actually might be soaring and scanning the ground, for something to eat. He also, while he's soaring and scanning, would also be looking for signs of other animals doing the same thing. Perhaps he's flying over and he sees a group of other scavengers like crows or ravens kind of all together in an area. That would be a clue for him that, hey, maybe they've found something to eat, so I need to go check that out. Maybe he sees other vultures in behavior that they're soaring or traveling for food. He would definitely want to follow along so that he could eat as well. So he is going to use his eyesight to help him do that. Now, also, he has a really fine sense of smell. Lurch has an amazing nose, and I love turkey vulture noses. They don't have a septum like we do. Our nose is divided in half by a bone, so we have two nostrils going up, and his, though, he doesn't have that, so he has his two nasal openings, of course, and he has this big kind of hole in his face, and I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if I can get him to move just a little bit closer and lift up his head. Lurch, could you look up? You're going to be shy? Oh, Lurch, you're never shy. What's going on with that? But if he were to raise his head up, here, I'll cheat. I'll bring him up. Haha. He's just like, hey. Oh, he's got a little sun. He's going to pose for you. There you go. But if you look very carefully, there we go, you can see that beak. There we go. And side profile. You can see how huge that nasal opening is. And actually, when he gives you a profile, you can see through it. And that little structure of his nose and nasal openings, that little piece that comes down over his face, that kind of goes over the top of his nasal openings there's a nice view of that hole. If you look, it's kind of ridged, and that helps him to, first of all, deflect the air to the sides so that the air in the sky isn't just running right up straight into his nose and down into his lungs, where it could do some damage, because he is in the wind, and lots of velocity up there sometimes in the sky, so he wants to deflect that to the sides. But also then it can slow some of the air as it goes up, and it'll come back around, and it can go through that opening at a much slower pace, and that's going to actually help him filter through that nose and help him to pick up scent of something dead. He's looking for scents like ethyl mercaptan, which is a gas that a body gives off when it starts to break down. So if you've ever gone down the road, seen a dead deer, and it's all kind of bloated, puffy looking, that's that gas building up as that body starts to decompose. So it's just a wonderful tool for him to help him find his food. And he's so sensitive. Turkey vultures have very sensitive senses of smell, as I mentioned, that he can pick up that foul stench, at least to us anyway. It's foul, but for him, he can pick that up as little as, different books say different things, but 4 parts per million in the air, and that's a pretty faint smell, but he can pick that up and then follow that scent to where it leads, and that is to dinner for him. So it's a great tool for him. So both sight and scent are tools that Lurch would use to help him find his food. So that's a great question. Oh, Dave asked, we just talked about it. He asked, is it true that vultures feed by sight and don't smell? Well, nope. Some of them do have a very high sense of smell. Maybe not all of them, but definitely turkey vultures. And then he asked also, why don't you get sick from eating rotten meat? That is a great question. Turkey vultures have evolved over time to deal, obviously, with scavenging, and that means you got to deal with some rotten meat and lots of microbes. So vultures have that well in hand. Their bodies have evolved a few really cool adaptations. One of those, first of all, is heat. Lurch is hot. Not just hot looking, but he is hot. He has a very high body temperature. Turkey vultures naturally run their body temperatures 102 to 104 degrees roughly. And of course, you and I, we're much cooler at 98.6. If our body goes up to 102 and 104, our body is raising that temperature to help us fight off a microbe. We're trying to heat up to kill that virus or bacteria that's infecting us. So Lurch does that naturally. One, he's got a high body temperature, so a lot of bacteria and things can't live inside of him, first of all. So if he is eating something rotten, no worries. If it's got, he can defeat some of that with his body heat. 2, stomach acids. His stomach acids are very, very powerful. So a lot of microbes that would be on that rotty meat can not survive the contents of his digestive tract, to digest that rotting meat. Again, it's not a problem. It doesn't make him ill because he can handle that with his stomach acids. Then as it moves into the intestinal tract, there again, he's got powerful help there. He has amazing bacteria that are in his digestive system to help him continue digesting that food. And recent studies, I just read a really cool study about vulture flora and fauna in their intestinal tracts, and they actually they've discovered a flesh-eating bacteria that naturally lives in their intestine. So he has a lot of tools to help him fend off bacteria and viruses and other microbes that could potentially cause him harm or you and I harm. We don't really think about it, but without scavengers, there would be a lot more disease on the planet, because these guys, if let's say a rabbit dies from something, maybe tularemia, which is a bacterial infection that can be very harmful to you and I or our pets if we pick it up. Lurch finds that rabbit first. He eats it. He stops the bacterial infection because the bacteria can't survive him. So he, in essence, has stopped a bacterial infection from getting worse in the environment. So vultures really do play a huge role by being scavengers in actually stopping the spread of disease. So they're very, very critical for that. So it's just a lovely thing that he does for us. And they're so important in the wild, and we just really need them so much. So one last question before we have to call it a day today, and that is Sarah asks, and thanks Sarah for asking, how many species of vultures are there? There are 27 species of vultures worldwide. There are 2 groups of vultures. There are the New World vultures, which are the vultures in North and South America, and that would include the turkey vulture, the California and Andean condors, black vultures, and a few others. And then the other group are the Old World vultures that you find in Asia and Africa, Europe, and they are different. New World and Old World vultures are not related to each other. The Old World vultures are related to hawks and eagles and those types of guys, and share a lot of common characteristics with them. The New World vultures are not actually related to hawks. They have just evolved with the similar characteristics as the Old World vultures because they filled a niche in the environment, and that's convergent evolution. So it's kind of interesting that this group of animals, though they're not related, have adapted and changed to fit into certain niches in their environment. So there are vultures out there. In most places in the world, vultures are endangered and threatened because of habitat loss, poisonings, power lines, and sadly poachers. So a lot of vultures get killed by poachers because the vultures, you know, when the poachers make a kill, the vultures find it and give them away to the area park rangers. So it is sad what's happening to these beautiful birds that are so important to our environment. Well, Lurch and I thank you guys for tuning in today. We want to tell you really quick about tomorrow, an exciting event. We're going to be releasing a ferruginous hawk. Yay, we get to release another bird. It's always a good thing around here. We love to see them go. We're going to be traveling to Chico Basin Ranch, north of Pueblo, tomorrow morning. I've had internet out there, and sometimes I haven't. So if you tune in at 11:30ish and we're not here live, check back after about 2 o'clock when I get back from the ranch, and we'll post it for everyone to see. But hopefully I'll have a little bit of internet and we can do a live feed from Chico Basin Ranch as we release a ferruginous hawk, and that'll be fun. Looking forward to seeing that beautiful ranch and talking with the people. They have some really cool programs out there, and I'm sure they're going to want to share that all with us. Well, we hope that you are well and safe, that you're still continuing to practice your social distancing, being kind to others, wear your face mask in public, do yourself a favor and keep us all safe. I definitely wear my masks. Luckily, I'm around Lurch today, so I don't have to wear my mask when I'm in his presence, because he can probably deal with COVID. You can probably deal with COVID-19 much better than I could. But we want you to be well. We want you to be safe. Until we can see you guys in person, we'll be continuing our live feeds on the weekends and trying to post. So right now in the ICU, it's starting to get a little busy. The last few days we've picked up 3 juvenile ravens. Oh my gosh, they're so cute. I'll try to get a little video of them. They're all in different cages right now because they're a little on the thin side, but once they move outside, I'll try to get some video for you because they are noisy and crazy and very fun to watch as they develop. And then baby great horned owls are coming in. We have one arriving this morning, so I don't know if it's already arrived while I've been out here with you, but anyway, we'll start posting pictures of them. And then also young crows are starting also to come in. So we're picking up a little bit of busyness now that people are out and about and moving around a little bit more. They're coming across these animals. So if you ever do need help with an injured animal, certainly places to start are with your local wildlife agency. Here in Colorado, it's Colorado Parks and Wildlife. They know who all the rehabilitators are, and they can help you get in touch with them. So you can start there. You can call our facility. We're happy to help you as well. Connect with a wildlife rehabilitator as if you know, we can find one for you. There's also a really great application or an app that you can get for your smartphone, and it's called Animal Help Now, and it actually has resources not just for wildlife help, but for domestic animals too, and that's a great app. Actually, I think it's pretty much in all 50 states these days, and it's a great app. I've had people, just because our name came up on the internet, a search, looking for a rehabilitator for an animal in another state, call us. And just by myself, I keep that app on my phone. Looking up on Animal Help Now is actually able to find them a rehabber within a couple of miles of their facility, of their home. So that worked out really great. So once again, Lurch, thanks you guys for your great questions. I'm happy to do this once a month. Yep, he's very cute. And yeah, now he gets active. This is pretty fun. But we hope you'll be well and be safe. And until we can see you here live, you guys take care. Have a great day. It's a beautiful day.